Hi everyone, welcome to the Qaops channel. I'm Rafael Lima, and in this video we're going to continue our evolution on testing with REST Assured in Java. If you haven't watched the previous video, I'm going to post a link to the playlist. I have a playlist called Java API, both in English and Portuguese. And we're going to keep doing our refactoring. We're going to start separating a little bit more the tests. We're going to be creating a base class where we can share more code and have more code being reused. And I would like to request you to subscribe if you haven't done yet. This way you can receive the notification for the next videos, and also you can help me out on spreading and broadcasting the channel and the knowledge itself, right? So let's start. So I have a branch here, which is the one that we have been using, which is the English master, and we have whatever code we already had, right? So I'm going to execute the test. So when I execute the whole package, I can right click and choose run, or I can just select and do the same shortcut that I've been using, Ctrl Shift R, and it's going to execute all the tests inside there. So what we're going to take a look at it is the other test, right? So we tested the user. Now I would like to test the actual registration. So they have a unsuccessful registration. I'm going to do a unhappy pass because I've been doing happy pass. So in this case, I have my postman here. I just do a post to register, and I'm missing the password, and I should see a error message saying missing password and a 400 bad request. Right, so let's start with that one. So we already created a user test, and everything related to the user endpoint we have been putting here. So now, since this is a register endpoint, I'm going to create a different set of tests. So I'm going to create a Java class called register test. And we're going to do a post here, right? So it's going to be a test, public void. What are we doing? We are test unsuccessful, unable to register when password missing. Great. So this is the same process. I have a given. Since this is a new class, I need to re-import everything. I have a given, and I have a content type because I'm doing a post, right? And I need to select content type. Make sure you select the rest assured one because there are other ones. You want to select the rest assured one, and this is JSON. And we want to do a body, right? And for now, I'm going to do this exactly body here. And when we do a when, I want to do a post to / register. Great. And my then is a status code, HTTP status. I need to select the Apache one, and it's going to be bad request 400. Now I would like to check the body as well because I want to make sure I get the correct message. So the body is there, and the message is. I'm going to have to import this one too. Import static core matcher is, and the message is missing password. Great, right? So let me execute this one. Ctrl Shift R. and it failed, right? And why it failed? It gave connection refuse, right? If you take a look, we don't have the URI, we don't have the path, we don't have nothing. We only have this last register, and that is because everything here is on the user test, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy and paste here just to make it pass at first, and I'm going to re-execute this test. And now I have a passing test. So let's just make sure it's a actual passing, and it failed because the wording is wrong. So awesome. So let me execute again. Great. So now I have a test, right? So there are a few things that I don't like here, right? The first thing is the body. We already fixed this, right? We already used the user in this case, and let's do the same thing, right? In this case, we have an email, right? In our domain, we don't have email. We have only name and job, and that's for the domain user. This is still the domain user. Although we are in the register endpoint, we are trying to register a user, right? And it would make no sense for us to create a new domain called register or register user. They are all the same user. So let's start creating here the email, because I want a user to have an email as well, right? I also have to change here the constructor, which is string email, and this dot email, and this is for the class, which is the class variable, which is the email, is going to receive email, which this email is related to this one. Even the IntelliJ is highlighted here, and this email is related to this email. Awesome, right? But remember that we had to have a get method, because rest assured, if I try to execute the test, Control R for executing the last test, it's giving an error because of the other test, right? No problem. So let's fix this test, right? This test is failing because we changed the constructor, right? So it's compilation error. So let me just put email at gmail.com, right? So if I execute the test again, it passed. So, but I'm still using this thing, right? So what I want to do, remember that we have to have get for the Lombok to be able to retrieve the information related to that user. So I'm going to create a method here called public string get email, and this is going to just return this email, whatever we have on the class variable, right? Awesome. This, whenever it's going to be created, instantiated, is going to be an object, right? Awesome. So now what I can do is I can come here and I can say user is a new user, right? In this case, remember that I would like the domain user. In this contract, I only have email and password. I'm missing the password here. So one of the things that I would like to do is I would like to be able to create an email, right? I only have a constructor for creating everything. And I do not want to create a constructor for every single attribute. So, but then we have a default constructor, right? So what I can do, which we already use here, I have a default constructor, and now I can say user dot set. I'll do a set, but I don't have a set email. Let's create the setter, right? We created the getter. Now let's create the setter. So public string set email, and this is going to receive a value, which I'm going to call email. I could call anything. And this email, which is the email related to the class, is going to receive the email that was sent on the parameter. Awesome. This is not string, this is void because this is not returning anything. So now what I can do is I can come here to my test and I say set email, and I would like to set the email to Eve. Awesome. I can now remove everything here and I just need to put user. And I can execute this. Awesome. Everything worked. Great. So now we have a user and I can, with an email as well, I can run everything here. I'm going to select that and do Ctrl-Shift-R, and it's going to execute all of those tests. It's important to note that this is working specifically because this test is, this API is not validating the email, right? So in the user scenario, actually, if you go to the user, we are sending the email, name, job, and email. But if you look at the create user, the create user only takes name and job. There is no email. So this API is not validating. Usually this API would say, hey, I do not understand this. This is I do not take email. This is wrong. Or it could ignore as well, but there is the possibility of saying, I do not take this. I do not recognize this. So in that case, Lombok helps you out too. I cannot show you actually working because the API does not handle that, but I can definitely show you during the deserialization that we're going to do. So I can do @JSON ignore properties, which is a Jackson annotation, or I can do JSON ignore, and I can say, hey, I would like to ignore this specific attribute, or I would like to ignore unknown attributes. If you are dealing with attributes that you do not understand how to parse, ignore it, and that would work. So awesome, cool. So we already have a test, a register test, right? So let's create a commit. Git status, git, I do have a add, I do have a user, and I have a user test, right? So all of these are using the new user domain. So I'm going to create add dash all. So all of these are using the user domain. So since they are using the user email domain, I need to put in the same commit. Otherwise, I would have broken commits. Add email to the user domain. And create register test. I should have done a commit specifically to the register test before, but this is fine. Awesome. So one of the things that I don't like here is this setup is being shared. It's not being shared, it's duplicated. I have also this setup here, which is not good. So let's create a base test. So I can, since those are being shared, I can actually put everything here in the same class and share that. So I'm going to create a new class called test base test. So I'm going to get all of these, the setup, only the setup, and put on my base test. Right, so my base test is a test. It's a father class, a parent class. And I'm going, this is what it's called inheritance. And I'm going to say the user test is a child of a base test. And the keyword is extends base test, right? And I need to do the same for the register. I'm going to delete this and I can do extend base test, right? And since I had everything working, I can just rerun everything and everything should be working, right? So I do have some imports that's not being used. So IntelliJ has a shortcut code, optimize import, Ctrl-Alt-O, and it's going to remove all the unused imports. And I can do the same here, but at this time I'm going to use the shortcut Ctrl-Alt-O, and I can also do a git add --all, and it's going to be git commit message add base test with before class setup. Awesome, great. So now I have everything more everything being reused. Not everything, but I already have my setup being reused. One of the things that I still can do is see the content type here, and I also have a content type here. Any test that I need a header on the given, I'll need a content type. So any post test that I'm going to do, I would need a content type here. So there is no, I'm testing a JSON API, so there is no need for me to be duplicating that. So I can also put that on my base class. So since I have a base class now, and this is a REST assured functionality called request specification. So I can say, hey, this is a request that's going to be generalized for everything that I do. So what I do is rest assured dot request specification, and this is going to be a new request specification builder. This is a builder of the request specification. And what I do is I would like to set the content type to be content type, needs to be the rest assured one, JSON, and I can now do build. I could do everything in one line, could be one single line, but it's too big, really hard to read. This is more readable. So now I can come here to my test and I can remove the content type. I can also come here to my test and I can remove the content type. And I can just re-execute everything and great, it's passing. So we can also do another commit. --all git commit add request specification with content type. Great. So one last thing is I don't like the endpoint being here, right? Because any test that I do, like the user test, I need to be putting the endpoints here. It's going to be hard for me. What does this endpoint do again? Is /user. This is /user. So my code should be more readable and also more adaptable. So if the endpoint change, I have to be tracking every place that I used. So it's better to have only one single place. So let's start here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create a attribute called endpoint for each specific endpoint. So I'm going to do private static because I want it to be a class variable, not an instance variable. The instance variable is when I do a new something like the new user. This is an instance. This is going to be an instance variable on this user. So the name is an instance variable. It's going to be on that object itself. Here is on the class. So, and I want to do a final because it's going to be defined once and it won't change. There is no code that could change this. And I'm going to call list string, and it's a string, and I'm going to call list users endpoint, and it's going to be /users, which is this one here. I'm going to create another one, which is /user, and this is just to create a user. Create user endpoint. And why I'm giving everything caps and with underline is because I'm missing a note here. Is because that's the Java pattern when you create a static final variable. And now I can come here and say I want this to be the list users endpoint, and this is going to be the create user endpoint. So now when I'm reading, it could be a week from now, a month from now, 6 months from now, a new person reading, it's much easier for me to understand what's happening. I do a guess to the list users endpoint. I do a post to the create user endpoint. It's very readable, right? And I can do the same thing here. It's private static final string register new user, and this is slash register, and I can now change to register new user. Control R to execute everything, and awesome, great. So now I do have a commit git add dash dash all. I'm going to do dash p, so make sure I have everything here. It's the private register new user. I changed the endpoint. Also, I created and changed the endpoint. So git commit dash m add endpoints static variables. Great. So I'm going to create a branch with this. So we are in video 4. So git checkout English 04. What did we do? We created we use request specification, and we created a base test and base test. So what I can do now is git push origin and my branch name. And the branch is already there. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe so you're going to receive the notification for the next videos. We still have to talk about deserialization. We talk about request specification. We also talk about response specification. We still have to talk about builders and Lombok, so there's a lot of stuff to cover. So please subscribe, help me get this knowledge broadcasted to more people. Give the thumbs up if you like it, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you next video.